Hello and welcome to the Blackout podcast where I get to talk to amazing people that do amazing things. And today I have Liv Kate. I call you that, but
Yeah.
it's like Olivia.
Yeah, I guess my full name is Olivia Doughart is my full name, but I go by Liv Kate mainly. That's
there
my.
we go.
It's like my nickname kind of thing that I go by.
So what is like Kate your middle name?
It is, yeah.
Oh,
good guess,
well,
good guess.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, Liv Kate. So, you model, but like then I also find out you put needles in people.
Yeah, once you found that out, you were like, I need to know more about this.
Yeah. Cause let's start with the one everyone kind of has an idea of. Like, how did the modeling thing start for you?
It was interesting. It started out as a Halloween costume a couple years ago. So everyone kind of knows me as the whole, like, spider girl, that sort of thing. And I keep getting photographers wanting to shoot me in it sort of thing. But that started, I got that as a Halloween costume a couple years ago. And I went out with it with some friends. And I kept getting stopped everywhere I went. And then so I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then I happened to follow a photographer on Instagram and we started talking and he said he wanted to shoot me in this. So and then it just snowballed from there and he encouraged me to shoot with other photographers and meet other people and then that's kind of how all this started.
And so do you remember the very first thing you shot that wasn't a Spider Girl suit?
I'm trying to think specifically. I did a lot of headshots and things like that. Even the first shoot I did with the Spider-Man thing was like a boudoir-esque kind of thing. So I went right from the get-go.
No, but like how is it? Because like in this full suit, right? So how is it boudoir?
You can still it still has a zipper in the back, like kind of like so you can still kind of like half take it off and stuff.
Okay,
so,
I didn't know.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not like sealed in it. Kind of thing. I don't have to go like I don't know in a pod and get suited into it. So.
Yeah. So, but like, right at the pretty much the first shoot. Like, how was that for you?
It was definitely a new experience, so I was definitely nervous initially because it was something I've never done before. Mm-hmm. But I was very fortunate that the photographer was very patient and like is used to getting new models, so he was good at giving me poses and things like that and giving me advice on how to kind of pose and go from there. So that was really fortunate that I had someone who was really understanding of people who were brand new. So that kind of gave me more confidence down the road.
Oh, okay. So that shoot went well. Did you just like start getting photographers reaching out to you or?
Mainly I had a couple, but then I had from this, it kind of inspired me to do shoots that I wanted to do or like concepts I had.
Oh.
So then I from doing this and I liked how they turned out. And I think that just gave me more confidence to be like, I would like to shoot the stuff I'm inspired by. I'll reach out to these photographers that I would love to work with, and it went from there. So I don't know, I just took chances that way. I was kind of like, I know sometimes people wait to be asked, and I was like, I'm been of the person of if I want something to happen, I'll make it happen. It's sort of, or I've been like that. I've not been afraid to ask or. The worst that someone says is no.
Yeah,
like
right?
Really, when you think about it,
Yeah,
and then sometimes you get experiences and opportunities just because you asked, right?
So like, what were some of the concepts you came up with initially?
So there was a few different. I'm trying to think of specifically. I'm trying to go back into my brain of of all the different kind of shoots I've done.
Yeah, time traveling.
I know initially doing one with like another female model of more like the whole like sensuality side of things. I know that was one that was like in my brain of like I wanted to create, or I haven't seen a lot of representation that way or in the way I would have liked. So I'm like, okay, I will. If I'm not seeing it, I'll create what I'm envisioning. And I've had different ideas, like different shoots, like almost fantasy-esque sort of stuff that I like that kind of thing. So I've had a range. That was probably the one I can think of off the top of my head that I was like, I knew right away that I was like, I would like to do this specifically. But then I've just gotten ideas from there as well, like of different stuff.
So like, how many photographers would you say you've worked with?
I actually counted that recently, which is funny. I thought about them like, geez, how many has it been? And it's about 22 or 23 at this point.
Holy smokes!
Yeah.
And you've had repeats with
Yeah, and I've had repeat shoots
with most of them, or just a few?
Majority actually.
Holy
So it's so when I think about photographers versus how many shoots, I didn't count how many shoots, but I imagine it's a lot more than that. Obviously,
Definitely.
if I've worked with some 2 or 3 times.
Exactly. So, and how do you pick the kind of photographer you work with?
A few ways. I look at their style. If I have a certain vision in mind and they kind of fit that aesthetic, that kind of draws me there. I look at their previous work. I also ask other models and photographers about their experience, because this is meant to be a fun thing. It's meant to be an enjoyable experience, so I want it to be that. So just reaching out and asking people I trust within the community has, I think, led me to having these good experiences. So just checking in. So
yeah, I mean, and like most things are on Instagram these days, and just a couple of days ago, well, recently there was like a post about like a person having a negative experience with like a photographer or some photographers. And like when you read something like that, someone that does all the different shoots you do, how does it feel?
Yeah, I mean, it can be shocking for sure, of like when you hear that happen and that sort of thing. I mean, I'm luckily people in question, or at least the person recently, like I hadn't worked with, so I mean, I was kind of lucky in that regard. There has been some that I have worked with, and I've been very fortunate that I had a good experience, but that doesn't mean that's the case with everyone. That's the thing that's tricky too, is sometimes you shoot with someone and they're fine with you, but maybe they might act inappropriate with somebody else. So it's like you got to be careful. And I think the biggest thing, if you can bring someone with you, there's different things you can do to try and mitigate. I mean, looking them up first and foremost and getting references from other people, but if you can, especially the first time you shoot with someone, if you can have someone with you just kind of as that buffer or barrier, if that's what you want to be comfortable. So there is ways to kind of, and I wish they would, hopefully they'll kind of create that, of like create a, hey, if you're a new model, these are the things to look out for. Maybe that's something to kind of do in the future to kind of protect everyone, try and protect everyone from all this.
Yeah, so maybe that's a 2021 task.
Yeah.
But here's the thing though, you actually mentioned something that's tricky, where you shoot with someone, you have a positive experience, and someone else has a negative experience. And then you read the comments, right? You know, and everyone is like, I hear you, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. But then there's a comment comes on, and then this person is like, what are you talking about? This person would never do that and stuff.
That's so tricky. Yeah. Especially because, and you can be really good friends with someone and knowing, like, that's the tough thing. You really don't know someone as well as you probably think you do. And as much as it is the inclination to be like, maybe you had a very good experience, to say they would never do something like that. You do have to give the benefit of the doubt or be open, because, it's not an easy thing for people to talk about going through that kind of stuff. So I'm inclined to, give someone the benefit of the doubt.
So, like, do you not say that, or do you say that, or do you support the person that is not your friend?
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a hard thing to navigate, and I think it depends, like, situationally and stuff like that. There's that fine line of, like, obviously believing people when they say these stories, and then also having people go through a process, if they're accused in this case, of, like, not just throwing a name out there with all due process, like having a process in mind. So it's tough. It's really a tough thing to navigate, and especially in 2020 where everything's online,
right
and
there.
There's that whole just like, I get the buzzword of like cancel culture comes up a lot, but it's very easy for emotions to run high and things like that, especially when it's something so vulnerable and personal. I don't necessarily have an answer to how to handle these situations. But it's tough.
I don't think there's like a right answer, and like you said, I think it's situational. You have to kind of consider things based on just like the whole picture, or at least part of the picture that you know of.
I think we should I think at the very least we should listen to people when they do say this stuff. Of like, okay, let's look into what's going on, or like let's listen to what they have to say. I don't think it should be completely cut off, because I don't think that's fair. But yeah, it's just it's not It's not a fun spot. And it
No,
seems like
no.
2020 is bringing out all stuff, not even with this, but in general, like anything that's kind of like foundationally not great. It's like, well, we're just gonna cause an explosion.
I think, especially with the very first lockdown, like everything was right in everybody's faces.
Yeah, you couldn't leave. Yeah,
I don't think anyone that grew up, like, since I've never experienced that before. I don't think anyone has ever experienced where you cannot go out. Like, maybe you would have a snow day.
I was about to say, like, I don't know, I'm from PEI, and there was times where we've had a lot of snow where we couldn't leave the house. So maybe that's probably the closest, but that's like a few days or something.
That's
it's
like
not
a snow day, but it's not like, it was a long time. And it was like crazy and it was scary. So, I think that also added to things coming out. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Well, and then oftentimes, like, I know I was by myself for quarantine. Like, for about 3 months, like, my roommate wasn't there. Yeah. So it's like, it feels like you have to do a lot of, like, introspection.
Oh, my God. I like being alone, but I don't know if I don't know if I'd 3 months. Holy shit. See, that's why
I guess I'm kind of used. I don't know. I've gotten to a place which luckily I was at that place before quarantine that I'm like, I'm cool with being alone. So maybe that kind of helped. And also, like, drinking some beer and playing my piano was also helped. But
you play the piano?
I do. Yeah.
See? How long have you been playing that?
So probably about over 20 years by this point, because I started when I was about 5 or 6. So.
Oh wait, so like you read those things, like
read the things. That's why you're here. You learn about this stuff, right?
I mean, oh my God. Like, how do you even know what is what and when to push your fingers when?
Yeah, it's based on the sheet music. Like, different notes correspond to different notes on the sheet and stuff. Yeah.
And do they also say when
the pedal? Yeah, the pedal for different rhythmic elements. Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, it's so ingrained now. Like, it's because I've done it for so long that it's so ingrained. I've tried here and there to, like, learn the guitar a little bit, and it's just such a different thing. I'm so used to how it feels for piano, and then it's the strumming and the pricking is a different thing. So, yeah. So
do you have a favorite song you like to play?
Favorite song I like to play? I mean, I was really into playing Bohemian Rhapsody. Has been one of those things that I play. Yeah, you like that? Yeah. Yeah, that's always fun. That's fun to just sing in the car, like when it comes on. all the good stuff. But yeah.
Okay, so you know what? All that was preamble, and I want to get into these. Yeah. I don't want to say it, but the doll is kinky as fuck. Yeah.
When I set it down and then I put it on the stand, and that was the first thing you said.
And I'm like, it's like, okay, I'm 12, forgive me. But, so, how did you get into acupuncture? Because, like, that's so different.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think I'm the only one from my graduating class in university that ended up going into acupuncture. Everyone kind of went physio, chiro, occupational therapy, and then I'm like, acupuncture. Just like, here I am.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so I was working in a private physio clinic after I graduated. I graduated with kinesiology, so study of human movement, more the Western side of things. And he took some courses in basic acupuncture, some basic points for pain management, that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then so I knew I wanted to specialize in something. So I looked this up, and then I realized, oh, it can do a lot of things. It can do not just with pain, but even mentally, like anxiety, depression. I have a lot of PTSD patients, for example. So I'm like, oh, this is neat. And then there happened to be a school over here in Bedford, and that's kind of what led me here. So from there, and then since taking it, I've absolutely loved it. So.
How long was the schooling for, and what did it involve?
Usually it's 3 years. I did a 2-year accelerated program. So I did my clinic hours while I was in doing classes. Normally you can do the classes and then do the clinic afterwards, but I did it at the same time, which I'm glad I did it that way, because then as I learned things, I could do them.
Away.
So it helped reinforce things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, apart from that, I could do all these amazing things.
Yeah.
What was it about acupuncture that made you commit so much? Because, like, doing the 3 years thing in 2 years is a lot of commitment.
Yeah, and it's a different frame of thinking a little bit, too. There is connections between Eastern and Western medicine, but you kind of have to park your logical Western brain and learn the theory and philosophy behind how they see the body, because there is differences. So
what are some major differences between the two?
Well, the biggest thing, well, we can actually see them on there. They have Chinese medicine believes on top of us having bone, like our skeletal system, our muscular system, we have these other pathways in our body that correlate to different organs, and we can use acupuncture along these channels. We use different points along these channels to tell your body to do different things, like your body, to help your body heal itself.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's what I'm just here. I'm like the puppet master.
Go and do this.
Yeah, basically. So that's kind of how acupuncture works in essence.
And so, does each point I guess no. I'm trying to frame this in because it sounded different in my head, but I'll try it again.
Okay.
Does each point? Okay, yeah, I get it now.
Yeah.
Can each point only work for one thing, or like more, like, if you stick it in that point, that's all it does, or can you stick it in one point and it does more than one thing?
It does more than one thing, and even combinations of points working together can do different actions too. So there's some, like on the arm, for example, that I can use locally, like if someone had tennis elbow or had a sore elbow, but I can also use it if they have jaw pain. And on their arm. On their arm. Because similar to the doll, there is channels, there's lines on the arm, and they go all the way up.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see. Right there.
Yeah. So there's times when, for example, someone has a toothache, and I can use points on the feet to treat their toothache, but it's because it's along the same channel. But it's funny when I do stuff like that, because then they're like, why are you touching my foot when my pain's up here? But that's how it's based.
But, I guess... I guess it's a channel, but how do you, is the specific points in the channel affecting things differently? You know what I mean?
Yes. So depending on the point along the channel, they have different actions or different indications what they're used for.
And I'm looking at the the model here, and there are gaps that don't have points. Are there places you can't put the needle?
There is certain usually certain spots, like the tongue, like actually needling the tongue is not usually one. You can prick for certain things, but not actually needle the tongue. There's certain spots, like the nipple, for example, you're not needling that. There's certain used as landmarks or us to find points, but in that case, same as the belly button. The belly button's another one that we don't needle, but we use it as a landmark to find other points.
2 inches from the needle, it will give you a headache to go away or whatever.
All that kind of stuff. No, but there's cool. Even you can do acupressure.
So just pushing
and rubbing the points. I actually my fun party trick is I get rid of people's hiccups doing that. So that's been very handy. people.
How long do you have to hold it for it to go away?
Usually about a couple minutes. I've had it work as quick as 20 to 30 seconds. So it all varies what you're
And where is this place so I can try it?
They try it. Well, there's one that's right in between the chest, right in the middle, in the middle of the chest.
Is that not where they make you, when you're doing CPR, they make you you're supposed to kind of rub your finger on the person's chest to make sure they're alive or some shit? I don't know.
Very, very medical. I know who's not doing my CPR, I guess. If anything ever happens to me.
All right. But you have to do this thing every year, and then you go, and sometimes, honestly, sometimes you're like, because it's the same thing. It doesn't change. And you're like,
but it's kind of good it doesn't change. So if you get in that scenario,
you kind of know, okay, well, okay, great.
Yeah.
So for your schooling, you have to know what each point is in English and Chinese. Because there are Chinese symbols on the points, right?
Yeah, there is. We learn them by organ and number mainly. So there's liver 3, for example, or spleen 21. They're associated with organs. There is Chinese names for them. I don't know all of them. There's a lot of them. There's also these are the primary channels, but there's other points as well that are also Chinese names and such as well.
Primary channels, what are those?
So the main 12 organs of the body, essentially.
What are the main? What are the main 12 organs?
Things like stomach and spleen, and heart and small intestine and large intestine, lung, things like that. They influence those organs. But we also have what we call ashy points, or just points where if you have a pain, in your arm, and there's not a specific acupuncture point, you can still do a point there to help create blood flow, circulation. All
that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
So you stick the needle in that point. What does he do exactly? Like, isn't he... Oh, I'll get to the painful. Actually, let's start with that. Isn't it painful?
No.
Okay, fine.
At most, certain spots can feel more sensitive. It depends on the person. I would say, if anything, you feel the initial, it's like a mosquito prick, I would say, or like a hair pull.
Mosquito pricks suck.
Yeah. They're not fun, but it's not like, and you can feel when the needle's in, people will feel other sensations. They may feel like warmth or tingling and such, but pain is not meant to be it at all. Actually, I have plenty of patients who fall asleep. I walk in and they're snoring and stuff, or they get what we call the acu high, where they just feel like they're on the clouds and they're walking out. And
Wait! You say you walk in, so like you put the needles in there and walk away?
Oh yeah, I let you marinate, as I call it.
How long do you keep like them in that state?
It's usually between 20 and 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah. So like, okay, so I come in, I'm like, oh man, I fell, my shoulder kills me. Yeah. Like, do I tell you kind of what I want, or what happens?
Yeah, so initially I'll do, like, first time seeing you, I do like a full assessment. I wouldn't just do this area, like the area, say your shoulder was sore. I wouldn't just do that. I'd also look into things like your digestion, your sleep, your stress is a big one that a lot of people have that can affect things. Where your pain is, because same with these channels, depending on where your pain is, tells me what channels may be stagnated or blocked, or what we can do to kind of relieve that. So from hearing kind of the nature of your pain, all of those things, I'll do kind of a full holistic look at you. And then based on what you tell me and what I see, and also I do things like I look at the tongue and I take the pulse. The organ systems are reflected on the tongue too, so that's also...
So you look at the tongue, what would you be like? Is it like the color or what?
Yeah, so there's the color. We look at the coating as well. We look at if there's any cracks on the tongue, how it moves, even the size of it and shape, and yeah, there's whole encyclopedia books on different types of tongue.
That is crazy.
I know when I was in school and we had to look at a bunch of tongues, I felt like I was a serial killer because I just had a list of, I had like a folder of tongues in my phone. So if anybody saw this, they'd be like, why do you have a thing of tongues? So I felt that way initially. But yeah, once you notice the differences with tongues, then I really notice them. Or I have friends that are on Tinder or something and they send me a person's tongue. That's the funny. That's the funny thing. They're like, should I go through with this?
I'm sorry. Oh my god.
That's probably the most funny thing that came out of being an acupuncturist.
Your friends are like, oh, check out his tongue. Oh my god.
Yeah. Usually it's like, they may have some like digestive stuff, but they're fine. If they have a really, really red tip, I'm giving people a tip, I guess. So, if people have really red tip, they might have been through something really emotional recently. So sometimes when I see that, I'm like, maybe you just want to. They might need some space. You might want to, get the, so.
Okay, I need a pause.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you breathe?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Wouldn't you want someone while they're emotional, like? Wouldn't you want to, I guess...
I mean, for me, it's helpful. Like, I can then treat and do things.
Yeah, I mean, I guess...
So it's handy for me, but if they're, depending on what they're looking for,
well,
I'm like, give it more as like a warning, like, hey, maybe consider that.
So when you say the person is emotional, like in what way? Like, is it negative or positive?
Or not necessarily negative, but even just if someone's prone to, like, even... like from a genetic standpoint, if they have anxiety or depression, like because that can be a genetic thing, so it reflects on the tongue. Of like they may be prone to that. They may be prone to being depressed or prone to anxiety. So that's kind of more what it indicates.
Oh, okay. Well, man, your friends is like, oh, check this out.
Yeah.
Wait, how do they now do they tell the person's like, I'm not going to talk to you if I don't see you talk?
Well, often they don't know what I do, so I can kind of do it like secretly. No.
Probably. I mean, your friend getting the person's photo. How are they going to?
Well, there's been. I don't know. I've been sent I've been sent photos of like, hey, because they know that I look at the tongue. So if there's some guy, I don't know, at a party or something, and he's like, and he sticks his tongue out, then that's what they send to me. I've seen some very interesting tongues that way. I'm like, that's a new one. I haven't seen that one yet. So
this is where you have to throw the medicine logic out, right? Like what you learned in school. Cause
there's certain aspects, but it's interesting because I've read there's this great book by this doctor, Dr. Daniel Keown. He's he's a medical physician, but he also studied acupuncture in China. And he has a book explaining kind of how they both work together. So that's where, when there's all these different facets, when you initially do it, you kind of have to park your Western brain a bit. But once you do, there is a lot of correlations. A lot of these channels actually correlate to embryology.
What's
Interesting. When we grow, like as we're fetuses and we become children, like through that embryology process of how we grow, how our organs, why they're in certain
stuff.
why your organs are in certain places.
Oh man,
all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, my brain.
So you can imagine how my brain feels.
Wait, so your dot's actually on the top of the head.
Yep.
How do you pin? Like, does the person have to shave their head or?
No, there's actually whole specialties in scalp acupuncture for things like Parkinson's and there's a very MS, for example. I've seen some MS patients when I was in student clinic. It's a course I would still love to take, is scalp acupuncture. We're not allowed to go anywhere because of COVID, but there is a doctor who's been doing it for 30 years of scalp acupuncture that it would be very interesting to learn his process.
So like what, as in, I mean, I remember you mentioned that the needles are very tiny.
Yeah.
So they can just like, kind of, but like, how do you get the actual dot? Like, do you kind of like comb the hair apart or?
It's still a thin needle, but there's different lengths of needles. There's also, we use different landmarks on the body, like either from the ear or like fine bony landmarks, like from our bones, to try and find where these spots are on your body. And we use that to kind of locate them. Do try and count the needles and such, because it can be like a needle in a haystack. If you do a lot up there and you have a lot of hair, they can hide very easily for sure. So you can put a lot of needles up there. So,
there are a lot of holes. And how long can you put the needle for? Like, when you put it in the skin, how long is?
I mean, the kind of the therapeutic, what we call therapeutic threshold, or like the ideal amount of time, is between 20 and 30 minutes. It's not gonna harm you by keeping them in longer, but that's like the sweet spot of the needle doing its thing.
So after that time, it's just a needle in your body. It's not doing more stuff.
More per se, just kind of it kind of did its thing, and then so that's where we kind of let you just do your thing for 20, 30 minutes where you can just relax. It's similar to a massage in the sense I use a massage table. You're underneath sheets like a massage, but I'm using acupuncture.
So, I mean, there's parts on the front, on the back. Like, do you ever have a reason to have like both sessions? Like, you do the front and you do the back.
Yeah.
Which one do you have to do first? Or it doesn't matter?
Again, it kind of depends on what they have. There is some treatments, if I think it's really important, I will actually do both sides in one treatment. Normally I stick to doing one side per treatment, but if there's points that I really want to do that I can only access on one side, I'll do it that way. I also can have people laying on their side too. And then so that can sometimes give me access to both. Yeah. So depending on what's going on.
Okay, I'll leave the needles for a while and talk about the cups.
Oh yes, the cupping.
I saw you do that. It was like really interesting. It's like you put the fire in it.
Yeah, you saw the fire cupping.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. So and I know massage therapists will also do plastic cupping, and I have some of it as well. Like this is an example of a plastic cup where I use a pump to take the air out of it, so it creates the suction. But you got to see the fire.
That one is more interesting.
I know it looks more theatrical.
Do they do the same thing? Like whether it's sucked air or fire, is the same thing.
It's the same premise. It's to help blood flow, circulation, like muscle tension as well. It can also help boost immunity in certain circumstances. For Chinese medicine, based on where we have them, can be correlated to organs, so we can do that as well. I personally love the fire cupping because of the heat factor. It doesn't burn your skin, but you feel that warmth.
That's
almost.
What I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
So like, and then you heat it up, put it on the skin, it just sucks it in.
Yeah.
Like, does there have to be a right amount of skin it sucks in, or?
Some places are easier to put the cups on than others. That if there's more bony areas rather than skin or fatty tissue, it makes it a bit trickier. So I'll usually use plastic cupping if I got to go in those areas. But depending on how quickly you do the fire cupping is how much suction.
Oh.
So if you do it really quickly, you can get a lot of suction on there. So yeah, and then you can sometimes add some lotion. You can do slide cupping You can move
What does
them.
that do?
So, pretty much the similar thing. It helps with muscle tension. I know I can go over if you got any muscle knots or muscle tension. I can actually go over. It feels like a speed bump when I go over them. That's like doo doo. So,
you can feel it knots and stuff.
I can feel the muscle knots. So,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And for that one, how long do you have to do it for?
I usually do cupping for actually leaving them stationary where they're just on there. I'm not moving them. Probably max about 10 minutes. So I don't leave them on for very long.
Do you ever do both at the same time?
I do. Commonly, actually. Yeah, it's especially if a lot of people have a lot of neck and shoulder stuff. But I'll also do, too, I brought it, too, it's called gua sha.
What is this?
So this is made out of jade, but it's a tool. I basically use some oil on it for your neck and your shoulder, for example, and I go along with this, and this helps break up adhesions too. So you can imagine with the acupuncture, the cupping, and this.
Do you ever do all three at once?
I can't, or I'll do them like incrementally. I might do a combination of acupuncture and cupping, and then I'll take them off, and then I'll add the gua sha at the end, or I'll kind of switch them up. So depends on the area of the body I'm using them for, but yeah. So
what's the most needles you put in someone at the same time?
Probably the max I probably would have done is probably about 40 to 50.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
On the back, but, I'm guessing.
Yeah, or just different places. That would probably be the max. I'm usually between 10 and 20 would be the average that I would put in.
And then, so wait, here's the thing. You say you put it and then you leave the person for 20 minutes, right?
Yep.
But if you're putting 40, you're not doing like...
I'm not usually doing 40, but yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But let's just say, so when you put in that first one, by the time you get to 40, that first one has been there for like at least, a couple of minutes.
Yeah. You try and do them relatively quickly, like when you're doing this kind of stuff. And again, like I kind of said, once it gets to a certain threshold, it's not really,
it
going.
doesn't... okay.
So you do have some window room there. I usually leave that 20 to 30 minutes for like, especially for the last needles I had just put in, that kind of thing. They're usually doing their thing by that time. So. And I'll come in and check on people and that kind of stuff. But most people are just like, yep, just leave me. I'm fine. I'm good. And then they're just out. So.
and COVID happened. How did that change your work?
So for us to work, we have to wear masks, obviously, and I have to wash my hands a bunch of times, and we have to disinfect the rooms. We give time in between to disinfect for every patient, and we call the patients, they wait in their car, and we have to call them in. There's no waiting area per se anymore. So it's changed that a bit. We've kept it pretty now it's pretty much a routine. Now we're kind of used to it, but we made some minor changes, but we're lucky we're still able to work through all this. I know it's not so fortunate for everybody now, but we've been lucky that we're still able to.
Have you done acupuncture yourself?
Oh, yes.
But I guess what's the difficult...
It would be hard for me to do back points, for example, myself and things like that. But I've kind of a funny story. This has come in handy so the reason it seems like I do a lot of points is I do both sides of the body most of the time. It's kind of, there's a balancing part. Both of halves of our body communicate with each other and such, so it's important to kind of be balanced and do both sides. And I learned that when I needled myself one time. I had a sinus cold a couple years ago, and I needled one side of my body because I knew it would help. It goes along that channel and helps clear up my sinuses, and I forgot to do the other side, so I had one nostril was completely clear, the other one was still blocked, and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to needle the other side of my body. So I felt it myself of how doing both sides really matters.
Oh, here's one for you. Yeah. Have you done a shoot with the needles on?
Not yet. I've done stuff with cupping with the fire that I use for cupping, but I haven't done needles yet. There is photographers who have done acupuncture projects where they've done cool kind of aesthetic things with acupuncture needles. I should try that sometime.
Yeah, maybe that's your next idea. And then I guess what did apart from the scalp thing you say you'd like to do in the future, do you have any other things you hope to do?
Yeah, just more kind of specialties in different areas. I know last year I took a facial rejuvenation acupuncture that's more kind of on the
cosmetic
side of things.
So if you inject me, I'll look younger and shit.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my god! I like the sound of that.
Yeah, so there's this whole process of 12 treatments, and you do this certain protocol, and it helps. It basically creates kind of these. They call them like microtears, but it basically makes it so that collagen will be produced in those areas.
Is that kind of, well, I'm mixing things up because I watch too much TV.
Yeah.
But like there was this thing where they kind of does roll shit on their face and it's supposed to make you younger. Is that...
It's kind of similar to gua sha, it would be like, I guess, where they have like a little roll thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure that definitely can help inside. And it's hard sometimes.
You bleed.
Oh, yes, okay.
You bleed when they do that thing. I remember watching, I was like, oh, what the fuck is this?
But I wonder what that was.
Yeah. You know, watch some more TV, just becomes a blow.
yeah, right? Gotta be in all different areas.
Okay, and then shoot-wise, any plans?
I had some in mind, or like some in the works, and then obviously COVID happened. We can't do in-person for a while, so I have some exciting ones coming up. I kind of want to leave it at that.
So you must have a ton of photos. Like, do you only keep them on your Instagram, or is there any other place you publish them?
I'm in the works I'm trying to figure out the best place to do it. I'm kind of researching different spots. I'd like to have like a website where I have my portfolio and like some of these full photo sets, you know, for people to see. So that's kind of a work in progress at the moment. Instagram's kind of been the best layout kind of to show from a portfolio standpoint, like this is kind of what I've done. But I'd like to, here in the near future, like actually create a website that I can put that stuff on too. Because you just never know with Instagram too. Things have changed, and you just
oh my god,
they
changed it. You know, the plus sign used to be down, now it's up. Have you noticed that?
That's thrown me off. Yeah. Or they put like the shopping button. I'm like, why?
Yeah,
why? Why are we
doing
this?
You to buy everything. They want to do reels and all that jazz.
Well, I know even, at least for me personally, I don't know if it's on your account, but I used to, before, if I had posts, like I like doing the row, I like doing the 3, I could usually save them as drafts and like I can't do that anymore. It took away my draft feature now too, and I was like, why'd you do this to me?
They're like,
why are you
do
doing this to me? I have, that whole like love-hate relationship. I love it for like the connections, like we met through Instagram.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
there's awesome things that I've gotten opportunities with Instagram, and then there's, you know, obviously there's a lot of censorship things that happen too. That's unfortunate. It's kind of
and with the type of photos you take too.
Yeah.
They're like,
I'm pretty lucky with mine, like, and I'll like do some censoring on certain stuff, but it's usually pretty minimal and pretty tame. But I know definitely for a lot of other models that I know, it's a lot harder of a process depending on what style you're in. Exactly. Especially for the whole fine art nude thing. I imagine they get hit a lot, so yeah.
Oh my god. So if you were to like put one needle in someone, I guess it would depend on what they're not suffering, but like what they need it done for. Is that it?
Yeah.
But like, say it was like just not aesthetic, but like, you know, just for like good vibes.
Yeah, and there can be some general points that pretty much is safe for everyone to get, kind of thing that just feel good and make you relax. Like there are those points. There's some that are specific for what I'm treating, but then there's also like if I was doing like a community acupuncture thing, everyone could get, you know, these 5 or 6 points.
What are those points?
There would be there's one called Yin Tong. It's like the unicorn point. You get one right here. That one's really nice and makes you feel nice and calm. That's usually people get that acu-high feeling from that guy. My brother loves that one. He's a huge fan of that one. And then there's one kind of in the inner webbing of the hand. I nickname that the aspirin of acupuncture because if you got pain anywhere, great spot. Great spot for that. There's another point in the leg that's good. It's basically a like immune boosting, like longevity, sort of like feel good point, and then there's a few others kind of like that.
Are they on different channels?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man, I have so many questions.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm running out of time. Man, Liv, thank you so much for sharing and like for bringing the doll. Does she have a name?
She does not have a name. You want to name her?
No, because. No, at least not on camera.
Yeah, I was about to say, after the comment you made before, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't give you that power. Maybe I shouldn't allow you to do that.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for coming.
No, thanks for having me.